Today, we're going to talk about that invisible force, that special magic that makes some stories feel like they'll last forever, while others just, poof, vanish. We're talking about cultural relevance.
So let's just dive right in, right? Think about stories like Star Wars or Lord of the Rings. I mean, they're decades old, but they still feel immoral, don't they? They're just baked into our culture.
But then you've got something like Game of Thrones. For years, that show was everything. You couldn't escape it. And then, silence. The second it ended, it's like it just dropped off the face of the earth for so many people. So what gives? Why the huge difference?
Well, that difference all comes down to one core idea: cultural relevance. And it turns out we can actually break this down into a simple test, kind of like a checklist, to see if a story really has staying power.
So, what exactly is cultural relevance? Put simply, it's when a story earns its spot in our collective conversation. Not just for a weekend, not just for a season, but over and over again. It's something that has to be repeatedly earned.
And what's cool is, this gives us a really clear framework. See, relevance isn't just some vague, fuzzy feeling. It's tangible. It means a story is still being talked about years later. It means you can quote it and people just get it. It means it's inspiring whole new generations of creators. To be truly relevant, you've got to tick all 5 of these boxes.
Okay, so if a story passes that test, how does it actually stay relevant? Let's look at what we'll call the 3 pillars of endurance. These are the forces that actually hold up a fandom and keep it growing over time.
Pillar number 1, memes and quotability. And I've got to be clear here, we're not talking about those ironic flavor of the week memes that burn out in a day. We're talking about quotes and ideas that come from a place of real love for the material.
I mean, just look at these lines, right? They're funny, they're smart, you can use them in a million different situations. They become part of our everyday language. And that keeps something that might be decades old feeling totally fresh and alive right now.
Next up, we've got merch. But hold on, this isn't just about slapping a logo on a t-shirt to make a buck. This is about merchandise that says something about you. It signals a shared value, a common language, a piece of your identity. And this right here, this is the perfect example of what I'm talking about. A simple hoodie can become like a secret handshake. It sparks a real connection with a total stranger because it's not just about what you like, it's about who you are. It turns a product into a statement.
And that brings us to our final pillar. And honestly, this might be the most important one of all: rewatchability and comfort. This is the stuff we go back to again and again, not just for a hit of nostalgia, but because it gives us a reliable, comforting feeling.
You know those shows you can just put on any time, like Friends or Avatar: The Last Airbender? They last because you know exactly what you're going to get. You're going to get a good feeling, a satisfying ending, and most importantly, you feel like the show respects the time and emotion you put into it. It never betrays you. Okay, so we've seen what makes a fandom strong, but what kills one? Let's flip the script and look at the 3 things that are basically guaranteed to cause cultural decay. Think of them as pathogens.
Because number 1, and this is the big one, is betrayal. This is the absolute fastest way to kill a fandom. It's when a story's ending or a major creative choice just completely invalidates everything the fans have invested in for years. It's like pulling the rug out from under them.
And here's the thing about betrayed fans. They don't stick around and hate watch forever. After that first wave of anger, they just get quiet. Apathy sets in. The merch goes into a closet, the rewatches stop, and they just leave. The fandom evaporates. And yeah, we're all thinking of the same thing: the last season of Game of Thrones.
All right, the second killer of fandoms: overproduction. Just too much stuff with no real meaning behind it. You overwhelm your audience with a constant fire hose of mediocre content, and you basically train them that none of it is special. None of it is an event, so why bother keeping up? And you don't have to look far for an example. Just look at the MCU after Endgame. The numbers are kind of staggering, right? You had 23 projects over 11 years for the first 3 phases. But for phases 4 and 5, we're looking at over 30 projects in just 5 years. It's no wonder so many people feel that superhero fatigue. The brand's impact just got diluted. And last but not least, a fandom dies when the people making it become hostile to the fans themselves. This is when any kind of criticism, even the thoughtful, well-meaning kind, gets written off. The audience gets labeled toxic just for caring so much. And when fans feel like they're not welcome anymore, they don't fight. They just walk away. Okay, so that raises a really interesting question, doesn't it? What about the true classics? You know, your Jaws or your Alien? These things can have huge gaps, decades even, between movies, but they stay legendary. Why don't they seem to need all these pillars to survive? The reason they last is because that first movie, that original story, was just so monumental. It wasn't just another movie, it became a cornerstone of its entire genre. Their place in pop culture history is so locked in, they don't need a constant stream of new stuff to remind us they matter.
So, where does all this leave us? After digging into what makes fandoms live and die, what's the real bottom line? What actually defines a story's legacy?
At the end of the day, cultural relevance isn't about churning out more and more content. It's not about endless spin-offs or flooding the market. It's built on something way more important: the trust and the affection between a story and its audience. And just as crucial, the creative restraint to not exploit that relationship for a quick buck. Which really leaves us with one final thought. For you, pop culture is always changing. What's relevant today could be forgotten tomorrow. But a story that you truly, deeply love, a story that has real personal meaning to you, well, that kind of relevance never fades.